The film sees writer and director Sam Levinson teaming up with Zendaya and John David Washington. Washington is Malcolm, a filmmaker, and Zendaya is Marie, his girlfriend and his muse. The pair are returning home following a celebratory movie premiere, where the celebrations should continue long into the night as they await the imminent critical success of his movie. But things take a turn, and the evening descends into a test of their love, their relationship, and the sentiments.
Sentiment. It's supposed to
It's
say
spelt
it's
wrong.
definitely spelt wrong. Sorry.
And the sentiments and the meaning of cinema. Oh, Craig, you spelt it
I'm
wrong.
sorry. It takes a while to put a script together and a show
I know, I
together,
realise
and
that.
sometimes there's not enough time to check over the spellings. But we don't have a clip for this one yet. The clips have not been released by Netflix thus far, but we're going to jump straight into stuff about this movie. So, David, thank you for summing up the film with that synopsis there. I'm going to come in with the way that this movie was created to begin with and why it was created, and I think it's really amazing. But to start off with, so many people during this COVID lockdown or number of lockdowns have ended up disappearing, not going on Zoom, not communicating with their friends, but doing other things, something creative. I know a lot of people have been doing sourdough maker kits, which is, I must say, no mean feat. I've witnessed it firsthand. Others have learned a new skill, but for Sam Levinson, the director of this very film and writer, he felt a sense of duty and responsibility to bring a crew that he's worked very closely with on Euphoria, which is a TV series, trying to bring them back from this subsequent COVID shutdown, which Euphoria was about to start filming again, but shut down right before they went to start work on it because of COVID-19, of course. So because he had this sense of responsibility to try and get these guys back into work or give them an income safely whilst a lockdown was happening, he reversed engineered this entire film. So starting with that sentiment of wanting to help these people out, he was talking to Zendaya, who is an actress who who stars in Euphoria with Sam Levinson as the director, and they've actually struck up a very close relationship over the last 2 years working on Euphoria. And they started bouncing some ideas about what this film could be about. And they were looking at possible locations and how they could make a movie centered in a almost one location place. And they thought they could do that in LA, but they couldn't because of COVID restrictions. And they basically had to think about how they could put a movie together in the best way possible. And they've ended up creating something that is a very rich story and builds on a true character study almost. It's like a relationship piece that is just off the scale relationship piece. It centers on filmmaking as a process, I think. And I think that goes hand in hand with being critiqued as well. So this is essentially what the undertones of this film is about. And as you said in your synopsis, a filmmaker played by David John Washington, who is Malcolm, he's returning home from a premiere of his own movie. And their conversations that they have throughout this film is just so in-depth and interesting and so real. It's stunning to watch this unfold on screen. It really is. I'll let you come in here.
So I really appreciate that, Craig. I didn't actually know that about this film, and it makes it even more intriguing. I don't know where to start with this review, but I think I'm going to start by saying I was completely blown away by this movie. so you have this filmmaker who's coming back from this premiere with his girlfriend, and like the synopsis said, it should be this this night of celebration and success, but it turns into this really deep analysis of both characters, their history, their relationship, what it means for their future. And it's just an absolute roller coaster of a journey. The film literally starts with a camera outside of a house, complete silence, and then we see a car pull up, and the two main characters come out. And the early cinematography in this film, Craig, was so striking. I don't know if you noticed how when John David Washington was walking around, pacing around his house, the camera would move from side to side with him, and it was almost like we were looking in on this argument unfolding. And I just thought the cinematography was great. It's from Marcell Rev, who has worked with this director on other projects like you were talking about. And
Well,
the main thing about...
sorry, I was just going to say the entire cast and crew have worked, apart from John David Washington or David John Washington. Have I said that wrong already?
You said it wrong. It's John David Washington.
So they've all worked together in some ways, but namely the cast and crew have worked on Euphoria together, and this is as I said in that beginning bit, they all know each other very, very well. And I know you're about to start on with the cinematography, but you're right, it's incredible. I'll let you continue with the cinematography.
Yeah, no, it was just interesting doing a bit of research. Obviously, I didn't know what Craig has explained to us. I noticed that this director had worked with the same cinematographer, the same people on production design, and the cinematography is striking. But the thing about this film is it heats up fast. Like their arguments start, and the acting is great. I've always said when you have heavy dialogue like this, and there's lots of dialogue, it is so difficult for actors to bounce off of each other and to make it seem natural. And it was so natural. The script was absolutely on point. Like, this is probably one of the best scripts I've encountered since maybe something like Parasite, which I thought was brilliantly written as well. And I just want it's not a spoiler, but John David Washington has what I call the mac and cheese monologue.
Do explain.
When he's eating that macaroni and cheese and he's giving that monologue where he's sort of putting his girlfriend down and saying various things, and it's just brilliant.
His physicality in that, and the way he delivers the speech as well, and it's incredible, isn't it? He's such a athletic person in that sense. Like we saw in Tenet, people were saying there were reviews from him about him in Tenet that saying that he couldn't act, and I couldn't disagree with that more. I thought he was phenomenal in Tenet. I thought he was great in Black Klansman, and this solidifies him in a leading role. Like he is so good in this. It's so hard to describe, but I was saying before, and you've said a few times now, he's a filmmaker, and in this film, as it unfolds, there's this process that he's talking about making films, and then how it has to be critiqued. And as a director, having your work scrutinized must be so difficult, and it's such a difficult pill to swallow in a sense when you get a bad review, or even a great review that you might actually disagree with what they're saying because they've completely got it wrong. And that made me feel uncomfortable watching the film, because it made me feel like, what am I going to say about this film that could be completely wrong? Now, not only from that point of view, when I was watching this, was I having those feelings. I was having these uncomfortable moments of watching these arguments unfold, but it went so perfectly from one conversation that unraveled these deeper meanings of their relationship, that it was so evident that a lot of this came from the director and the producer, who is his wife. Ashley Levinson is his wife, and she produced this film as well. And one of the main parts of this film, or one that came from their relationship, was not thanking her. So
Yes, you're spot on.
for the premiere of, I can't remember what film it was now, and that's really bad. Assassination Nation, I think it was. So they were at the premiere there, and he didn't thank his wife, and the same plot device there was planted in this film, and it blossomed into this incredible acting that came in from Zendaya as well, who is an absolute beacon in this film. Like, we've seen her in so many films as being this young teenage actress with all of these emotional highs and lows, but to see her play this wonderful woman on screen who, yes, she's young, and but you know what, I didn't see it at all. Like, I didn't care about any of that. She portrayed the person she needed to portray, and it was an absolute, it was incredible performance. Both performances are absolutely incredible. They really are. You want to come in here, don't you?
Yeah, just two things to touch on. Firstly, it's weird that we've both researched this film and we've come out with similar answers or similar thoughts. That idea that John David Washington can't act and he couldn't act in Tenet is absolute nonsense. And like you said, he completely proves that here as well. And there was absolute uproar on film Twitter. So by film Twitter, I mean people, critics who are tweeting about films, talking about movies, about the age difference between these two. Didn't notice it, didn't see it, didn't care. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. But in terms of the performances, Zendaya is fabulous, and she has this complex character. And what I love about this film is the way it unravels or peels back like an onion various layers of their character. Malcolm hasn't thanked Marie, and we initially think, well, maybe it's just a mistake. But what we don't realise is that the film that he has made is actually based upon, or loosely based upon, Marie's life as a recovering addict.
Which I must admit is so meta, because her character in Euphoria as well is an addict as well. And that was something that I didn't realise, because I haven't seen Euphoria, but that was something that, when mentioned to me by somebody else, it clicked together that just how this universe of characters and people that have worked together to create this film have created something that's so inclusive of everybody involved that have made it. And that goes for saying, because obviously Zendaya is a producer on it, so is David Washington in this. They are all have invested money in this film as well, so they own this film not only financially but creatively. And Zendaya had a lot of input in the creation of this film, and it really shows. And you know what I really love, David? There's a performance within a performance in this film, and it was the standout moment for me, and an Oscar-worthy moment, I think.
Well, I did tweet about this, so as people know, Road to the Oscars, I follow the Oscars with great passion, and there is tremendous Oscar buzz for Zendaya. I put a tweet out the other day with hashtag Zendaya, and it got lots of likes and retweets. Like, she's got a huge fan base. She was introduced into the betting market at 8-1 for Best Actress. That was clipped into 7-1. The moment you're talking about, the performance within a performance, is, you know how people win Oscars and you can pinpoint the moment that they won it?
Absolutely.
This is where, I'm not saying she's going to win an Oscar. She may not even be nominated, but that is where she stamped her authority on the Oscar race and said, I'm here, I'm a big contender. Her character, Craig, was so unbelievably complex. And we learnt so much about her addictions, her mental health struggles, and some of the monologues that are in this film. Not only is there real bits of humour in the film, would you agree with that?
Yeah, there really are. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the mac and cheese scene.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's it has many levels to it. It's quite humorous in the way it unfolds in terms of the physicality. It's funny. It is funny. The film is also incredibly romantic in some ways. It's incredibly heart pounding, exhausting to watch. It's got so much to say, even though it in the script, the dialogue is saying, I have nothing to say here. Like, so there's a lot going, so many levels of meta-ness going on here, because the director is getting and has written a script about a filmmaker who is being criticised for his film, or could be criticised for a film that he's made, and is saying, the films aren't always about what you're trying to say that the critics are saying they're about. Is it about politics? Is it about this? But by extension of him suggesting that this film, that the character in the film has made isn't about politics, instantly turns this film into something that could be talking about politics. And it's so ironic in that way, and satirical, I suppose, as well. And it's, is he talking about the true depths of filmmaking, and his love for cinema comes through and shines through. And I think no more so, and in what you've already touched upon, is the cinematography as well, because of the choices that he's made here to shoot this in black and white is amazing in itself. And there was a quote that I found from Zendaya. I might be paraphrasing this a little bit, but the fact that it's shot in black and white with black actors that are, is harking back to a time when films were shot predominantly in black and white in Hollywood, and it didn't allow black actors to have their own voices. And it's so poetic in that way, that it's like coming full circle, that a film made in Hollywood, a Hollywood production, is shot in black and white with a black cast. There are no white actors in this whatsoever.
There's only
two actors in this film. They are black, and they have their voices heard, and it's loud and clear, and it's just stunning to see. Technically, on the cinematography level, the choice of location, with it being basically a glass house, is so great. Like, it's the way they've lit this film, because of the way that the film stock it's shot on. So it's shot on 35mm Kodak XX film stock, which gives this film its really strong contrast in these like deep blacks and these really harsh whites. But the downside to that is that it has a really low sensitivity, so they needed a ton of light to shoot with this film, and they managed to achieve that because of their choices of location. But the way that they've executed this, with their choices of location, with the characters or the actors that they've chosen to have in this film, the number of crew that they had, all executed so that they could shoot an absolute masterpiece, right, through a COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. And the fact that they've made this film during that time, even if it was outside of a lockdown, outside of a pandemic, this film would have still been difficult to achieve. But I don't think it would have actually existed because of the way it came about, because of the pandemic. This film is an extension of that creativity, people honing skills that they didn't really have time to do before. Like I said in the beginning of the review, people locking themselves away and trying to do something new, be creative, do something they've never been able to do because they haven't had the time. This is that film for Sam Levinson. It's giving back as well, and I absolutely adore that about this film.
Yeah, that's great, Craig, what you've said. One thing I did want to say briefly, and I think it might be one of the most beautiful bits of cinematography filming I've seen for a long, long time, is just when Marie is basically smoking outside of the house, and you see her reflection in the window of her smoking, and then you've got John David Washington in the background behind that. And you would know more about this than me, but the way they had a strong focus, and then it was blurry, and it was just beautiful to look at. And so many bits of this film, you could pause it and it would make nice artwork. Like, the black and white is brilliant, the way it's shot is brilliant, and it really, and this is what I wanted to touch upon next, it reminded me of Marriage Story. I don't know if you got that sense as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely got the sense of Marriage Story in that it's a very strong character driven movie, but a lot of similarities. But you know what, it's its own film. It's so original
Yeah.
in that sense as well. Like Marriage Story was original, but this is taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah, because like you said, we've got two actors. The film's about, what, an hour and 40 minutes, and it's just focusing on them, their relationship, their struggles. And I'm going to go on the record and say it's probably my favourite film that I've seen since... I'm not going to say since Parasite. Parasite won Best Picture. It's the best film I've seen probably in the last 12 months. I'm not sure what it's better than, but it is... For me, like, this has to now be considered as a Best Picture option. Like, it's just brilliant, and I really truly mean brilliant.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think we've said enough about this movie now, and we should ask ourselves questions. David, Malcolm and Marie, is it worth it?
Malcolm and Marie, which is coming out globally on February 5th, is 100% worth it. The acting is astounding. The cinematography is gorgeous. It's a roller coaster of a journey which will make you laugh and cry. It's one of my favourite films in the last 12 months. It demands a watch. You must watch this film. And I want to make that very, very clear. Watch it. Craig, for you, Malcolm and Marie, is it worth it?
Yes, this film is 100% worth watching. If you can somehow see this film in a cinema, go and see it in a cinema. But as David said, as I've said already as well at some point in this show, it is out on February the 5th, globally on Netflix. Do hunt it down, go and find it, go and watch it wherever you can, because you know what, it is just exhausting, beautiful, poetic, and just a true Hollywood romance film, but in total originality. So well done to the entire cast and crew of this film. Honestly, absolutely sensational.